Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Lynn. I'm a psychic and a medium. Thank you for joining me today. We're going to be talking about politics and we're going to be talking about Ukraine. We're going to be talking about what my spirit guides have been talking to me about for the past 2 nights. So what happens with your spirit guides is if you don't give them an outlet and they really have an important message to get to you, they will choose the outlet that is most convenient to them, which usually is when you are asleep. So that is what's happened to me on Sunday night. Monday morning, I woke up knowing that it was as if I was in a room with Putin and he was throwing an absolute fit. He was throwing physical things, breaking physical things. He was screaming and yelling. It was as if he was a tempest. He was twirling around with this energy. He was very upset. What has happened is that his right-hand people, to keep him calm throughout these years, have lied to him. They've tried to soften the truth here and there so that maybe he gets 60 or 75% of the truth. Because, you know, if 25%, if you're wrong, 25% or 15%, then you may keep your life, right? But if you're wrong 100%, then game over. So they have to tell him some of the truth, but what they've been doing is softening it for him. And so this particular situation with invading Ukraine, none of his generals won. One of his generals was for this. And that was a problem because this general is a megalomaniac like Putin is, but nobody else was for this. I mean, none of the oligarchs, nobody. But nobody wanted to tell him. So this is how we ended up here. Of course, the other thing that I want to say to you is that my guides are talking so much, and I told them we have to be succinct. We cannot go on here and talk for 3 hours. I don't have 3 hours. So they're just talking about how this didn't happen yesterday. Putin has been who Putin is. People say, oh, Putin's changed. He has never changed. This is the man. This is who he is. He's always been a despot. He's always been a war criminal. He's always been violent to a point of insanity. Always. Ask all these other countries, including Ukraine, who he's invaded before. There is no... There's less and less ways to keep him within the rails, okay? Because he's not getting what he wants. What he's seeing is glasnost. What is glasnost? Wasn't that during the Cold War, glasnost? Anyway, what he's seeing is that humans are coming together, that Western democracy is growing, that the EU is growing. And look, he influenced and tried the Brexit thing, and it worked to a degree, but not to the degree that he wanted. You know, it didn't sink Britain. It didn't completely tear them apart. It just caused them a lot of pain and agony. But it didn't sink them. He's wanting to sink these. He wants these countries to come to their knees. Okay, so that didn't happen. So he's getting more and more afraid of democracy because democracy is growing. So he needed to take back Ukraine. He had no idea that Ukrainians were so full of mettle, full of bravery, full of their desire for democracy. He misjudged that because his people were afraid to tell him that. He was basing this on the fact that he's been able to take over some parts of the eastern Ukraine, and those people are indeed more Russian-oriented, some of them, and because that is closer to Russia in that area, and they're just a little bit more pro-Russia, and he had some success with that, and so he figured he's going to take the rest of the country over. That's not going to happen. So I want to also address briefly, because this is really important today, the EU has accepted Zelensky's application, which makes me kind of crack up a little bit, because it's like you have to have an application to the EU. It almost reminds me of when you're trying to get your first job and you put applications in. But anyway, Zelensky filed the application to join the EU, and that looks promising. If no other reason, then the EU walked out when Lavrov the Russian, whatever the heck he is, wanted to explain, he wanted to Russian explain, like man explain, Russia explain, why they were in Ukraine and why it was really not a bad thing. And everybody in the building in that area left. All of the delegates got up and walked out. So that seems like that's a good sign. But we have to understand that when Ukraine becomes an EU participant, and I do believe they are going to be voted into the EU. When they become an EU participant, the EU countries and NATO are going to be thinking, do we have to now protect Ukraine? If they're a member of the EU, are other EU countries going to have to come in and protect Ukraine, as in enemy combatants or literally soldiers on the ground? I mean, right now we are fighting a proxy war, right? Ukraine is fighting the war, but the United States and a lot of other countries are donating manpower to get the weapons, and donating weapons and donating food. So we're by proxy participating in this war. But will the EU have to then take the next step and be more than a proxy? So the other time that they woke me up was last night. Oh, I will say when they woke me up on Sunday that I woke up, and the time after I had already been laying there wide awake, when I finally looked at my clock, it was 1:01. So that's a good sign, right? That's a good sign. Light is surrounding Russia and the Ukraine, and I think that's a good sign. But last night they woke me up because Lukashenko was invading, and sure enough, he was invading at that time. Lukashenko changed everything for the EU. If Belarus is going to get involved in this war, then we have a multi-state, or multi-country war here. This isn't just one bad actor. This is a pile-on. So now this is scaring the bejesus out of Poland. And Moldova should be terrified, and so should the Baltic states. And, Europe has to do something. So to give you an analogy, two analogies, that they seem to be speaking in analogies lately. Remember when they said that there would be 100 archers lined up to shoot at Trump, and only 5 arrows would land and 3 would bring him down? So we were to expect a lot of arrows to miss. So we need to expect that a lot of cases are going to fall through. Just know that that's coming. It doesn't mean that it isn't going to work. It doesn't mean that Trump isn't going to be, held accountable, because he is. It just means that we're going to see a lot of near misses, and that could give us, that could make us upset. So regarding this thing with Lukashenko and the EU, and perhaps the West in general, including the United States and Australia, they're showing me bandages around our eyes, just bandages wrapped around our eyes. And what is happening is the bandages are being removed, okay, one at a time. And at some point with gauze, you can start to see through. You don't have a clear picture, but you can see. And this is where we are. Bandages have been removed, and we have a piece of gauze or two in front of our eyes, but we can kind of start to make out some things. This is where we are. We're starting to understand that Putin is not redeemable. Okay, so this is a big thing they want to talk about. And I don't know, maybe just because we need to understand, I don't know. But we all made friends with Putin, right? I mean, we know that our United States Republicans made very good friends with Putin, right? But in general, let's just talk about countries. A lot of countries made deals with Putin that normalized him. This is the thing they want to get across, is we've been normalizing him, trying to appeal to his better angels, trying to think that if we had the Nord Stream pipeline and the man was getting a lot of cash, even if his people weren't, if the oligarchs and Putin were getting a lot of cash, that he would be more amenable to not invading countries. Well, that's what we thought, and it was a good try. It didn't work. It doesn't work. The man doesn't care about cash. The oligarchs care about cash. Putin cares about his ego. Putin is seeing himself written in the annals of history. Putin wants to see himself as, who's Stalin? I mean, I know who Stalin is, but I don't know how this makes sense. Maybe after I'm done channeling this, it'll all make sense. But Putin sees himself as somebody that they would put statues up to, right? He wants to be a figure in history. He doesn't care about right now. He cares about his immortality. It turns out he's really worried about his mortality. Well, I mean, good reason to. His, the other guy that was going to be in his place got assassinated. So, I mean, when you're in this part of the Russian regime, I think mortality is something you think about when you eat breakfast. So, for him, he knows he doesn't have long on this earth, and he wants to be the father of Mother Russia, is what I just heard. He wants to be the Father Russia. He wants to be the man that brought it all back together. He wants school children to have to learn about him and be revered in the future. So this is what he cares about. We're dealing with literally a sociopath, a megalomaniac, not a head of state, not someone who cares about their people, not someone who cares about the world economy or anybody else's people. He just cares about power and how he's going to look in the future. And for him to look good in the future, a couple of things have to happen. One of those is he has to remain powerful. He has to go out of this world, meaning out of this mortal world, as an all-powerful being. And secondly, Russia and some of these other communist states have to remain communist, because the only way you can guarantee that school children are going to learn about him is if they have to learn about him. So, in a democracy, we don't have to learn about any particular leader. And as is witnessed in the United States, pulling down statues of Civil War, slave owners, sometimes civilizations, democracies can decide that they don't want to venerate those people anymore. So he needs it to be a communist, regime for him to be venerated. So you understand I think now I understand better his motivations. Now, so to him, this is everything. Having his statues, having his portrait everywhere is everything. It's worth everything. And as the guide said before, I think, he has stuck his neck out so far at this point that he can't pull it back in very easily, right? He just can't. So what I see happening is, first of all, I don't see nuclear weapons happening because, honestly, he's got those thermobaric bombs or whatever they're called. He's got much more, not more destructive, but within the rights, within the Geneva, they're telling me all this stuff that I don't know and I can't look it up. Within the Geneva Council, whatever the guardrails are that say you can operate these weapons, he's operating those weapons. The problem is those weapons shouldn't be within those guardrails. They should be removed and put with nuclear. What we've done is we've all decided, and I say all, I mean all of these countries and all of these leaders have decided that nuclear is the one thing that nobody can use. Okay, fine. Everybody signs up. Yep, not going to use nuclear. Well, what about these bombs that, pulverize an entire, 18th century huge building in one, or 16th century huge building in one fell swoop, So we still have very deadly weapons that he's using. I don't think he's going to use nuclear. I think that's just saber rattling, and I think that's him trying to scare NATO. And you know what? It worked, because NATO is now pulling together. The EU is pulling together. I think I heard Finland wants to join the EU. This is his worst nightmare. Everything is going against what he wants to happen. So here we are. Let's look at this for a second and see this from a global perspective of Russia. So we know that the SWIFT sanctions, all the sanctions are hurting Russians. I feel sorry for Russian people. They didn't vote for this guy. They live in a dictatorship. And they too were sold a bill of sale. You can be normal. Here, work at this company. You'll have relations with Westerners. You'll travel to Westerners. Westerners will travel to Russia. It's all open. It's glasnost, right? Well, that was all a big shell game. It was a mirage. It's not true. The EU, we normalized Putin's behavior. And now we are realizing that that was wrong. Everyone is realizing that that is wrong. So another analogy, it's as if you, there's so many things they're talking about, the abusive, parent, the narcissistic parent. At some point, the family all comes together and says, you got to go, right? We are siding with the other parent, and we're going to help her him take these kids, and we're going to isolate you because you're the one that's the problem here. So that's what's happening. They're going to isolate Putin. They're going to isolate Russia, and Putin and Russia could very well turn into a Kim Il-jung kind of thing. Kim Il-jung? I can't think of it right now when I'm connected. Anyway, he will turn into a pariah. He'll turn into a wasteland. No more real connections with the outside world. He'll be trading with Cuba. He'll be trading with North Korea. He's not going to have these posh, luxurious lifestyle that he had before. And I want to also say that these oligarchs, they're on Twitter. There's a guy who's literally I think this is fascinating because I love looking behind the curtain. Obviously, I'm a psychic, but there's this guy on Twitter that traces the oligarchs' airplanes. You can see when they go to New Jersey. You can see when they go to other places. And, that hasn't stopped. Nothing has stopped these oligarchs. They just changed the ownership to Germany. Or, you know what I mean? So they're still trying to operate normally. We know that they own a lot of London. And we know now that London is saying, no, okay, we're going to now implement these new ways of making sure that people can't just own property in London anonymously. We need to know who you are, right? Because these people may be enemies. And we don't want them owning so much property in London, in downtown London, right? So yes, the world is closing in. The oligarchs are finding ways around it. They're also using Bitcoin and all of that. But it's closing in. It's closing in because of this. This is the most important thing. It's not the most, it is, according to them, is the most important thing. And that is humans. Right? So our leaders can do what they can do, and that's wonderful. Bring Ukraine into the EU. Maybe even make Ukraine a NATO partner, bring in more countries into NATO, create a real militaristic border around these countries, and do not allow them to just decide to invade a democratic country anytime they want. But other than that, the most important thing is us, you and me, watching this video. Because it's you and me that will be the voice. We will be the ones to hold them accountable. And it's interesting, as I started this channel, I don't have, 40,000 subscribers or whatever. I'm a relatively small channel, but what's interesting is that the people that watch the channel and the people that have come to me for readings, and I'm so blessed, some of them are pretty freaking, big people in various parts of our world. And I can tell you that I can see somebody watching even Linda G's or Cash Peters or anybody's channel and saying, you know what, I'm not taking this anymore. And my child goes to this posh boarding school with this oligarch, and I'm going to go to the board and I'm going to have them thrown out. And you want to know what? Money doesn't rule everything. This is the beauty of what's happening, the beauty of our lesson. Money doesn't rule everything. Humans do. So if humans get together in that posh boarding school and say, we don't want this person here, and they go to, the board and have enough clout, enough humans, that oligarch and that child is going to be thrown out of that school. Now, people will say to me, and look, I'm an empath. Oh, it's the children that suffer. Well, I'm sorry. You know, you're right. The children are suffering, and you're absolutely right that Russian people are suffering. But you're also right that, you know, people are dying in Ukraine through no fault of their own. One week they're buying groceries and going to the movies, and the next week they're, you know, being bombed and killed. So I'm sorry. We have to apply the pressure. If this child gets kicked out of this posh boarding school and the oligarch has to send them to a communist state for education, how long do you think Putin's going to live? For real. How long do you think it's going to happen? So what I see happening and what the guides are telling me is going to happen is, you know, whereas people are the pressure, you know, we are the pressure, we're also the buyers of the oligarchs' things. We are the power. We vote with our wallets and we also vote with our votes. And when these people in the EU, because this is what I see happening, start finding out, I'll give you an example. It's here in the United States. Lukoil, I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's a Russian-owned gas station. And they operate in the eastern part of the country, Pennsylvania and some parts up there. People are not going to that gas station. Now, yeah, that hurts the local owner, but I'm sorry. This is what we have to do. This is where our power is. And so you'll see this happening over and over again. In Europe, we see it happening. Shell, BP have pulled out of Russia. Billions and billions of dollars of investment. So yes, we're putting the pressure on the oligarchs, and the oligarchs are going to say, we like money a lot more than we like Putin. And we want to be normal. Those oligarchs want to be normal. Look, if all those Russian citizens can have jobs and Western jobs and call centers, they're going to make a lot more money. Okay, they're going to make a lot more money. There's so much money to be made if Russia joins the rest of us in a civilized manner. Can you imagine a country as big as Russia, what their GDP would be if they were literally producing things and selling them on the Western market in an open way? There's a lot of money there. That's going to impact these oligarchs, and it's going to impact Putin. And I don't think in 5 years there's going to be a Putin. I don't think in 3 years, 2 years, maybe a year or less. Maybe a year or less, no Putin. Now, he may decide to exit this plane of existence in some way of his own doing, or through health or some other way. I don't know. And I'm not asking for him to go. I'm just saying, this is the energy that I'm reading, is that it seems to me that the oligarchs are not completely pinched, okay? They're not really all the way pinched. Although the Monaco thing, when Monaco kicked them out, that was hurtful. They're feeling the pinch, okay? And that's more than they've ever felt in their lives. I mean, they're not used to this kind of, and they don't want to be pariahs. That's the thing. I think the biggest thing here is they don't want to be pariahs. They want to be socialites. They want to be able to go to parties and be feted and have access to celebrities, and they're pariahs. And they're going to be more and more pariahs, and they don't want to be North Korea. So this is the pressure on Putin. Now, so to wrap this up, I would tell you that Putin, okay, so Lukashenko drives me crazy. But Putin is a madman. Okay, they just called him a madman, which I think nobody would disagree with except for maybe himself. And he's going to wreck the joint. He's going to wreck Ukraine. He's going to bomb it. He's going to level it. Okay, I'll be honest with you. I said this in the last thing. He's going to do a lot of damage. People are going to die. But he's going to leave. He's going to retreat and he's going to leave. The thing that I saw in the first video, I think, was that the thing that may be the negotiation is that Putin says, I want Eastern Ukraine, and there will be a wall, just like Germany, East and West. It'll be East and West Ukraine. West Ukraine will be, you know, civilized, democratic country. That's what Putin wants. I mean, that's not what he wants. He wants Ukraine, but that is something that he would accept. Okay, so if you're looking to see what would start a ceasefire, if you're looking to see what would start peace talks, real peace talks, that's it. Giving Putin Eastern Ukraine would be it. But you know, the thing is, y'all, those Ukrainians, they're not going to give up anything. My guides show me the phoenix rising out of the ashes. They're just not going to give up anything. Now they may, because I swear they're going to pulverize. I'm afraid they're going to pulverize Kiev. So that's a potential. Okay. Other than that outcome, the other outcome is Russia being dominated in the airspace to a degree that they literally are embarrassed and literally cannot. It's vanquished. They're talking about the word vanquished, having vanquished Russia. So that would be the other thing that happens. And that could happen, but I'll tell you, if that happens, we're looking at another month. We're looking at another 4 weeks of this. And I don't know about you, but every night feels like a year to me. Every night I go to sleep or try to go to sleep and I think about those people, and I think about the Ukrainians and the Russians and those poor Russian soldiers that literally didn't even know they were going to war. And I don't know how I can get through another month of this. So we'll have to see what happens. I will tell you that this is all based on my spirit guides, and this is for entertainment purposes only. And I would also say that when you're trying to read the energy of a madman, there's a lot that could go wrong. He's not stable. He's not, he is, okay, right. He's not going to be able to go back to the man he was. That is no longer available to him. The only thing he can do at this point is go back to Kim Jong-un type person. And that is not acceptable to him. So just like a toddler that has to throw all their toys out the window or stamp on them, that's what he's doing. He's going to trash everything around him to prove his displeasure. But it's not going to change anything because they're never going to let Putin be normal again. End of story. Russia will have to have a regime change, and they will have to have democratic, open, and free voting. And then they will be allowed to be more of a trading partner, more of a real integrated country into our economy. Once again, look, he had his chance. He was integrated into the economy. People acted as though he was a normal leader, even though he wasn't, and he ruined that. So it's done. Your chance is over. So going forward, I see when Zelensky, when Ukraine gets into the euro, I just see more and more support. I don't. There could be a time when why are they showing me Finland again? I don't know what's going on there. There could be a time where there already is, right? Okay, there already is. There are many, there are many foreigners fighting for Ukraine. I mean, I know people from the United States and all kinds of countries have gone there and have taken up arms. So there are foreign fighters there. I was just asking them if they saw when Zelensky and Ukraine became part of the EU, if the EU would send actual forces. They may send forces. I don't think in the next week. See, this is the problem. The EU has to decide, are we going to be in this fight? Are we literally going to join this fight? And they weren't going to do it until Lukashenko got involved. That's when everything shifted. And they thought, this is going to be World War III. And this is the thing. Putin wants World War III because he thinks he can win it. I mean, is he deranged? Has something happened that he's not the man he used to be? Possibly. I don't really think so. I think he was always this terrible. They're telling me so many history things that I don't even understand. Who's Ivan the Terrible? I don't know, you guys. This is what happens. Bottom line is there's not going to be nuclear warheads used. Russia is going to leave Ukraine. Ukraine is going to rebuild. Ukraine is going to become a very beautiful cosmopolitan metropolitan city, even more than it has been. It's a beautiful already cosmopolitan metropolitan city, but it will become more so because they're going to be rebuilding, and the look of the city is going to change, right? Because right now the buildings are quite old, and you're going to see these new buildings look very modern. You're going to see architects come in and donate their time to create the designs for these buildings. It's just going to be amazing. It's going to be beautiful. I want to just briefly talk about, what about Lukashenko? I wasn't going to talk about Lukashenko. What about Lukashenko? He's going to be put in his place. You know what's weird is I almost see Russia becoming democratic before Belarus. There's more money and more pressure on Russia than Belarus. Okay, but anyway, so Lukashenko will get rid of those people out of Ukraine. They're going to be sanctioned. Their people are really going to be hit hard, worse than Russia. Belarus's people is going to be hit worse than Russia. I see terrible starving, terrible winter scenes of starvation, just terrible. I don't even want to see that. Oh, the people, God bless them. Okay, the last thing I want to talk to you about is Zelensky. He's a hero, right? I mean, the man's a hero, rightly so, and that's also driving Putin crazy. Zelensky is the leader we all wish we had, I think, actually. No, I mean, Biden is fantastic, actually, as well. Biden has been masterful. Masterful. He has united the West. You know what they told me about Biden? You know, Biden is a statesman. And Biden has done with the European Union what he thought he could do with America, which is bring different types of people with different types of needs and wants and, you know, whatever's together. He's done that in the European Union. He's brought those people together, and he stepped back and said, you guys work it out, right? You guys lead the way. This is your, you know, continent, so to speak. So, and it's sad that Biden hasn't been able to do that with our own country. It just underscores, frankly, how far gone the Republicans are, that Biden has not been able to bring them together in some sort of way that would be negotiating, right? That would be for the better of America. Let's at least get together, honor your differences, but let's come together and for the good of America. Right now, for the good of America, these Republicans are still siding with Putin, and or like Tucker Carlson changing his tune midstream and saying he never was. You know, who do these people think they're talking to? You know, they're gaslighting Americans, and not all Americans are going to fall for that. Remember, the gauze is coming off. They show me the Statue of Liberty with gauze around her eyes. The gauze is coming off. We're not going to be able to be gaslighted so much anymore. The truth is out. We're able to understand it. We're able to accept it. It's like when you find out that your partner's cheating, and you finally accept it, and you're like, okay, I'm resolute now. I see it. I get it. I'm gone. Okay, so, but the last thing, Zelensky, if they'll stop interrupting me and sending me on wild goose chases, I'm a little bit worried about him. I don't think he's going to die. I don't think that. I can't guarantee anything because I'm talking about millions of people that have free will. And I can't, I do see something happening to him. I don't know if it's an injury, an attack, a close call. You know, they're telling me they don't know what's good for them, meaning the Russians. You know, if the Russians kidnap Zelensky, I mean, I don't even know what would happen. I honestly think that a lot of countries would get involved in a major way. The thing that I'm worried about is Lukashenko and his whatever you call those people, basically his mercenaries. They don't care. They don't care about anything. They're not governed by any country. do you understand what I'm saying? They're not really even governed by Lukashenko. They're basically madmen that have been turned loose and said, do whatever. Like, we don't care, do whatever. So those are the ones that I worry about. But I feel like Zelensky is going to be okay. I'm praying that he's going to be okay. And the last thing I would say to you guys is that, listen, really briefly, we have to take care of ourselves. I always end these videos with this. We have what is called existential depression. Existential depression. It means that I'm looking around. It happens to be sunny here today. It's actually quite a beautiful day down here in the south. And I don't hear bombs, and I'm not under threat, but I feel like I am, because my energy is attached to Ukraine. I'm an empath, right? And I'm feeling, look, they're waking me up in the middle of the night. I'm sure they are you too. I'm sure a lot of you are having psychic hits, psychic downloads about what's happening, because your little antennas are up and collecting the information that's just swirling around out there in the other realms. And you're tapped into it, and it's making you tired. It's making you not eat right. You might be overeating. You might be undereating. You might not be sleeping. You might be turning down things. For instance, today is Fat Tuesday in New Orleans and in Houston, or in Galveston anyway. This is the last day to party before Lent. So this is how the Catholics, I'm not a Catholic, so please feel free to correct me. But my understanding is that Fat Tuesday is you go out and you get fat, right? You drink, you eat, and then tomorrow, Ash Wednesday, you go to Lent. So you're going to give up something for Lent. You know, chocolate, wine, beer, alcohol, you know, carbs. Who knows what you're going to give up, right? But so tonight you can eat all of that you want. So tonight is Fat Tuesday. I have friends that are having a Fat Tuesday get-together, a very small one. And I really want to go, because I haven't seen these friends in a long time. But at the same time, I don't feel like seeing a parade. I don't feel like having fun. I don't feel like being joyful. Right? That's the existential depression. We have to get a grip on this, people. Because remember, people, you and me, we're the ones. We are the ones we've been waiting for. Turns out, we're the ones we've been waiting for. So we have to stay healthy. We have to keep our vibration reasonably high. Because when this is all over and Ukraine is rebuilding and other threats happen, we need to be the people that stand up and say, no, this isn't allowed. We're not going to do this. We're not going to allow this to happen. If we are sick and tired and depressed and hermits in our houses, we're never going to stand out on the street and say this is wrong, because we're going to be too depressed to do it. So please take good care of yourselves. The best thing you can do is to take a little action. So when we consume negative information, whether it be from our own private lives or spheres or from the world, when we take in all this negative information and we basically eat it and swallow it into our body, that becomes depression. When you eat your anger, when you eat your sadness, when you turn it towards yourself, it's a weapon. You just turned it on yourself. That's depression. So what we want to do is feel that anger, feel the sadness, then take action, then let it go. Feel the anger, feel the sadness, then let it go by taking action. Okay, so I voted in the Democratic primary. Okay, that was action that I took. I will donate to a reputable agency that's helping refugees or helping Ukraine. That's action. I will take care of myself. I will actually hopefully make myself go to this thing tonight and laugh and have fun and enjoy my friends, because that's going to raise my vibration. That's going to make me happier. You know, and maybe we're all sad together for a moment for Ukraine too. So then I find that I have help, that I'm not alone in feeling this, right? So take care of yourself, right? Recognize when you're not taking care of yourself. Recognize when you're not eating well. Recognize when things are just not normal for you. And stop it before it becomes a major depression, okay? Because that's not going to help Ukraine. A bunch of us being depressed is not going to help the Ukraine. It's not. A bunch of us writing our senators, electing reasonable people to govern our cities and our states and our government, registering voters, getting yard signs, block walking, texting, that's going to help Ukraine. Because if we didn't have these Republicans that were pro-Russia, maybe Putin wouldn't be doing what he's doing. So there's where our power is, okay? And that power will help you from being depressed, and it'll help you feel like you're doing something, because you are doing something, okay? Much love to all of you. Take good care of yourselves. Pray, send white light around the beautiful, wonderful people in Ukraine, all of those refugees. Envision Russian soldiers laying down their arms and walking away, which they are doing, and which the guides said they would do in the first video. They continue to do so. They're walking away. These Russian soldiers are walking away. Keep visualizing that. Visualize Putin being inactive, whatever that means. Maybe he's in jail, whatever it is. Putin is no longer a power. You have the power to visualize these things. Do it, release it, send it out to the universe, and then let it go, okay? Take good care, you guys. We'll talk soon right here on this channel. Thank you.